And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Wednesday, November 19th. I am Josh Engleman. That right there, DKDFS. You should follow him on Twitter at DK__DFS. We've got a 9-game slate ahead of us today. 7 on DraftKings, the full 9 on FanDuel. We've started to get some of the news that I thought we were going to get earlier today. This slate's gross. We got a lot to talk about, and we're going to break it down over the next hour. And then we're going to kick it to live before lock, and they're going to do it again. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. What's going on, man? How are you?
Doing pretty good. This slate kind of feels like end of the season slate with, we got Golden State punting it. We have some other teams relatively shorthanded, games with huge spreads. So, a lot of different. It's going to be a headache of a slate. I'll say that.
It sure is. You mentioned Golden State. We'll get to them in a bit, but you can see that 4 of their names are at the top of the ownership table for DraftKings. But that is not where we're going to start today. Where we're going to start is, I guess, kind of a fun game. Cleveland and Houston. 2 actual teams, both of which missing their point guards for today. Fred VanVleet is out for the season. Darius Garland is out for right now. Jabari Smith is questionable for this one. Tari Eason is already out. And then on the Cleveland side, we are waiting on news for Sam Merrill. Do you have any sort of lean for the injury news right now?
No to either. Jabari Smith, I couldn't really find anything. Looks like a new injury. Doesn't look too bad, obviously. And then Sam Merrill with the wrist, he was able to return the hand. He was able to return and finish the game. So maybe a slight lean that he plays. But the good thing is this is the early game, so we will get this news before lock.
Yes, we will. Not only is it the early game, but there are 4 7 o'clock locks tonight and then 3 8 o'clock locks. So 1 late swap opportunity on DraftKings and a lot of stuff happening at 7 o'clock. We don't have a ton of ownership coming into this game. Where it is coming in, it's coming to the names you would expect. Just north of 20% ownership to Alperen Şengün, about 20% ownership to Kevin Durant, 15% ownership to Evan Mobley, who I liked a bit more earlier today. And then your scattered ownerships to your Donovan Mitchells, your DeAndre Hunters, your Jabari Smith in this case. Let's start at the top with these 2 20%ers coming from Houston, Alperen Şengün and Durant. How do you feel about these guys? Do you like them more or less than this? What's your lean here?
Yeah, so looking at the ownership, again, both around 20%. I think both are decent options here. Houston has been running a very tight rotation. They played 8 guys last game, and that was with Aaron Holiday only playing 16 minutes. So kind of like we've been seeing them run for most of the year, but it really just gives these main guys like a really high floor. In competitive games, again, Şengün, Thompson are usually pushing 40 minutes. KD's in the high 30s. So I think I slightly prefer Şengün to KD. However, high opportunity cost because we have so many center plays, a lot of center value. And then we got, Jokic, who I think is going to get some ownership because we have so much value too. So it is, I think, a little bit tougher to get to Şengün because of that reason. KD is small forward only. Small forward is relatively weak on this slate. Not a lot of amazing plays in the small forward position. So it's probably easier to get KD in your lineup. Straight up, I think I would rather have Şengün. But again, it is tough to get to him because of the opportunity cost of the center position.
What about this Cleveland side? Because it's really only Mobley getting any love. There's no love coming into Donovan Mitchell, who's been playing pretty well as of late. No love coming into the rest of Cleveland, which I don't really find all that surprising. But are you a Mobley or a Mitchell guy today?
Yeah, Mobley I'm kind of indifferent on at around 15%. I think I'm a bit higher on Mitchell in the field. I know it's not necessarily the best matchup here against Houston, but he's 9,300. We do have a ton of value in the slate, and you have to spend up somewhere, and he is not getting a lot of ownership. Again, though, we have a lot of value at guard too, so kind of higher opportunity cost. But I think Mitchell's a solid contrarian play. The rest of Cleveland, I think, is a little bit tougher to get to. Don't really like the rotation they've been running. Jarrett Allen hasn't closed the last couple of games. That is definitely concerning. The minutes were down on DeAndre Hunter last game. So they are kind of spreading out the minutes really outside of those top two guys in Mitchell and in Mobley. So I think it's a bit tougher to get to anyone else. Houston value, though, like Steven Adams, I think is interesting. And then because I think he would probably start if Jabari Smith gets ruled out. So he would definitely be in play for me if Jabari Smith doesn't play. If Jabari Smith is in, I think it's a bit tougher to get to Adams because of all the other center values that we have. So I'm keeping an eye on that because I think Adams would be one of many center values that we would have in the slate if Smith doesn't play.
Yeah, I think Adams is going to be interesting either way. Rich just asked the question, you guys think Steven Adams starts tonight if Jabari's out? I don't, actually. I think they would start probably Aaron Holiday in this spot now.
Okay.
Just because of like the way the team is currently set up and the guys that are already out, I think they would just maintain, instead of going to that double big and like getting into this like quickly swapping guys out and like extra rotation type stuff. I think they might just go to like the natural guard and keep the normal substitution patterns here, because they can slot Aaron Holiday in and it's not like people go to like the wrong position. Kevin Durant just gets to be the 4 for this team. They can allocate these people in the right spot a little bit better. That said, if Steven Adams starts, I also think he's live to play like stupid minutes.
Yeah, like if he starts, he could definitely play like 30 minutes. The reason I think he starts is because I think Capella would enter the rotation if Jabari Smith gets rolled out. And if like both him and Adams come off the bench, then it's like kind of weird. I don't think they'd want to play those two together. So that would be the reason.
To the people in chat that are hypothesizing Jayshawn Tate, he doesn't play at all. There's no reason to think that they're going to start Jayshawn Tate today.
Yeah, like I think you could argue that like Jeff Green is even ahead of Jayshawn Tate. Like we don't know.
I would assume Jeff Green is ahead of Jayshawn Tate for a start today.
Yeah. And someone said Okogie. Yeah, Okogie's been starting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to start today, one way or the other.
Yes, I'm pretty sure he will too. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on the news. And then one other guy to mention too, Reed Shepherd. The minutes have ticked up on him. He's been playing a lot better. It's a little bit tougher to get to him on this slate with all the other plays that we do have, but he's definitely someone you can mix in large field tournaments, 29, 25, 26, and 29 minutes over the last 4 games. So his role is pretty secure, reasonable price point, low ownership. So I definitely think you can take some shots there in large field tournaments.
Yeah, I think he's underrepresented based on how he's been playing and how much he's been playing as of late. And then if Jabari Smith happens to be out, whether Reed Shepherd like somehow gets the nod or anything like that, there's just more minutes to go around at that point. And I feel pretty comfortable getting to him at like a relatively low ownership number. There's really not much else in this game. That news for Jabari Smith and Sam Merrill matter. I don't know how much the Merrill news will like unlock anything, but we want to know it at least.
Yeah. Do you think that Lonzo would start if Merrill gets rolled out? Because I was trying to think, I'm like, I don't know who else they would start.
No.
So I think it would be Lonzo. No?
You could tell me they start Naquan Tomlin and I'd believe it.
Yeah.
I guess it probably is. He can go out there and play enough minutes like that, and that's fine. Dean Wade too, realistically, but that feels unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, I guess against, like, if you're going to run out like a really big lineup like that, like this would be the team to do it against Houston. So, yeah.
Let's look at the FanDuel side. I don't know. I'm getting a call. All worked. Look at the FanDuel side of this one. I'll pull up Cleveland and Houston. There's not much of a difference in the conversation we're about to have here, but 18% ownership coming into Kevin Durant, 13 to Şengün, 13 to Amin Thompson. The only difference here really is that Evan Mobley is a lot less owned on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, but ultimately there's nothing else here. So everything we said for the DraftKings side is the same on the FanDuel end. So we're going to go to game number 2. Not a stellar game here. That's for sure. Charlotte and Indy. These two teams are pretty bad. this season, and I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon. There's no ownership coming in here. Miles Bridges is 14% owned. Benedict Mathurin is 10. Everybody else is in the single digits. It's just like a really weird spot because in theory, I think there's going to be like a lot of fantasy points because both of these teams are awful, whether it's missed shots and rebounds or like nobody can stop anybody. But I don't like the pricing on like pretty much everybody.
Yeah, I would say I think this is probably my favorite game to get to for tournaments. And again, like kind of you mentioned, it's tough to get to some of these guys because of the price points, but that's also the reason why they're pretty low owned here. This is a game that definitely has shootout potential written all over it. You know, two bad teams going up against each other that don't play a lot of defense. So I guess I'll start with, I think right now my favorite tournament play of the slate, that's going to be Isaiah Jackson, projecting for a little over 5% ownership. So last game, he moved into the starting lineup. He played 27 minutes. However, he was in massive foul trouble that entire game. Picked up a third foul before the end of the half and then picked up a quick fourth to start the second half. He could have very easily played 30 plus minutes in that game. Jackson, not a bad point per minute player. Obviously, the concern is he's very, very foul prone. But I definitely think that you could see, if he avoids foul trouble, like around 30 minutes for Isaiah Jackson. Obviously, you don't project him for that, but yeah, I think he's a pretty interesting tournament play here on a slate where you have a ton of center value and he's kind of going a little bit overlooked. And then I like the rest of Indiana too. So Benedict Mathurin was also in foul trouble last game. He was probably would have paced for about 30 minutes. I think he could very easily just be no limit and full go. I mean, we saw it with Nembhard in his first game back. They were just like, they let him play. He played 33 minutes in a blowout, was pacing for like 35 minutes. That was Nembhard in his first game back. So I think you could very easily see Mathurin just play like 35 minutes here in a competitive game. He had about a 40% usage rate last game. So he's going to lead this team in usage most likely. So I think Mathurin's a pretty good tournament play. Nembhard, Siakam, these are two guys that, you know, in competitive games are probably going to play mid 30s minutes. The Pacers have gotten blown out like 6 straight times, but I think those two are pretty interesting as well. So yeah, I think Indiana probably my favorite team to get to for tournaments. And then on the Charlotte side, Miles Bridges, you know, a little over 10% ownership, I think is reasonable. Colin Sexton, I do think is playable here. He played 14 second half minutes last game. Trey Mann got injured in that first half. So you're probably expecting like high 20s minutes for Sexton. I don't think I can get to LaMelo Ball yet. I think he's probably still going to be around 30 minutes unless we hear otherwise that he's like full go. And then I think you can consider him. So yeah, overall, I don't think there's any like priorities in this game, but definitely a lot of guys I like in tournaments looking at the ownership.
I like the indie side as well. I'm with you on that one. I do think that Mathurin can just fall into stupid minutes today, and we don't see it coming. Nembhard to me is just always interesting, especially in these matchups against other shitty teams where like he might actually be able to be a little bit more of like who he wants to be. Siakam feels like a tough sell at 9,300. But I like the Isaiah Jackson shout. Like he rarely gets the full run of minutes that you like think he can get, but they're on the table every time he steps out there. It's just it's so infrequent. But at 6% ownership, I think he is properly sneaky. LaMelo is just one of those situations where like if you play him, you're just kind of hoping that he's going to play normal minutes, and we just don't know that he is. It seems like he's not, but like he's not until he does it once. Could it be today? Sure. I have no idea. This matchup is obviously fantastic for him, but I don't think it's what's happening today. And if he's just going to be playing 30 minutes, I just don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, I like LaMelo. Like again, I agree. I think he probably plays 30 minutes, but we might just not know. And like one of these games is going to come out and play 38 minutes, and like it's tonight against Indy at no ownership. Like something like that could win you a tournament. So yeah, I'm okay taking some shots there on him because he's so low owned.
Jeff Williams with the super chat said, any Knipple love on DK playing the 888. He's just fine. Like he's a guy that's going to play 30 something minutes. So like any one of those guys in the league is viable in a lineup construction like this. I don't have anything to say about him. He's just like, he just exists on this slate.
Yeah, that would kind of be my take as well. Getting like around 5%, someone you can mix in, but not someone I'm going to prioritize. His role's been solid, even with LaMelo back, but not much else to add there.
Let's take a peek at the FanDuel side of this one, because there's two sides to every coin from what people tell me. Not when I flip it. It's whatever side the other people picked. Charlotte and holy shit, why am I already forgetting who they're playing?
Indy.
Oh my gosh. I think because my mouse was like sort of over it. I was like scanning the outside area. Well, if you thought they were uninteresting on DraftKings, let me present to you FanDuel, because it's equally as uninteresting here. 13% ownership to Miles Bridges, 10 to Pascal Siakam, 10 to Con Knipple. It's everything we just said for the FanDuel side for the DraftKings side is the same as FanDuel. I'm assuming you don't have like a particular FanDuel take here.
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, then let us keep it moving and get to a game that we're probably going to have to spend more than a couple seconds on. It is going to be the main event of the evening, at least for today. The Golden State Warriors are taking on the Miami Heat, but this is not everyday, normal Golden State Warriors. No. Steph Curry is out. Al Horford is out. Jonathan Kuminga is out. Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, and Buddy Hield are all questionable right now. 50% ownership to Will Richard. 40% ownership to a flat min 3K Pat Spencer. 30 to Pajemski. 30 to Guy Santos. 27 to Trace Jackson Davis. 25 to Moses Moody. Even questionable Buddy Hield's getting 12. Let's start with the injuries. What do you think these Q tags are going to be today?
Yeah, so I would be very surprised if Draymond and Jimmy Butler play. Sham said a little bit ago that they're both not expected to play. Line indicates that as well. Miami's 10.5-point favorite. So I'd be very surprised if those two play. I think Hield is the one guy that's a little more 50-50 with an illness. So he's, I think, a little bit more up in the air. But yeah, the two vets, Jimmy and Draymond, I would be very, very surprised if they play.
I agree. And I think that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. So then let's flip the script a little bit here. What do you want to get to? Obviously, Will Richard has been starting lately. He's 4,500 shooting guard eligible. It appears that Pat Spencer is going to get a pretty decent bump here with no Steph Curry, with him being the flat 3K. Pods just sort of naturally steps into a couple extra minutes and like more role. What do you like the most here for this Golden State team? Because we're obviously getting to it, but what do we want to get to?
Yeah, so it's a tricky one. I guess we'll start with starting lineup. So do you think starting lineup is going to be, assuming those two are out, Pojemski, Will Richard, Moody, Santos, and Quentin Post?
Yes, that is what we have right now. Moody, Richard, Pods, Post, Santos.
Okay. Yeah, so assuming that is the starting lineup, I think Will Richard is probably the easiest guy to get to. He's 4,500. We did see Golden State punt a game earlier in November. It was 11-5 against Sacramento. Now, they did have Kuminga in that game, but so they started Will Richard, Quentin Post, Pajemski, Moody, and Kuminga. Richard had a huge game that game that was playing alongside Kuminga. So not a surprise Kuminga led that team in usage, but it was Will Richard number 2, 23% usage rate in that game. So yeah, he's 4.5K, but I think he stands out as a really solid value here. Moses Moody, I expect to be chucking. He's 5,600. He's small forward eligible. Yeah, I think in a competitive game, like you could definitely see mid-30s minutes. In that game against Sacramento, Moody played like 39 minutes. So love the upside on Moses Moody. The center situation for Golden State. So again, expecting Post to start, but Jackson Davis, I think will basically play the non-Post minutes. I don't think they'll go small ball, especially against Miami with Bam expected to play and then Khalil Ware. So with that being said, like Post is totally fine at 4-6, but I think Trace Jackson Davis is a really good value play. I know he hasn't really played a ton this year, but he's a good point per minute player. And if we get the 48 center minute split between him and Post, I think you're probably expecting like low 20s minutes or so for TJD. So he looks really, really good. Podziemski is going to be the primary ball handler. So in that game where they rested everyone for Golden State, Podziemski, 63 passes made, 14 potential assists. He's a guy that, can do a little bit of everything. Almost had a triple-double in that game too. He's the most expensive of all the Warriors, but, definitely a guy that does have a pretty high ceiling here. And then there's even more like Santos at 3K if he starts. I know he hasn't played much either, but he's the flat min price. Definitely someone you have to consider. So it's going to be a headache. And then Pat Spencer is projected to be massive chalk, even though I don't think anyone's expecting him to start. But he's also the flat min price and it's probably going to play around 20 minutes. You definitely have to get to Golden State. But I am curious to see where the ownership lands on a lot of these guys.
Yeah, it's a fascinating situation when you get a $3,800 Pat Spencer, likely not starting, 40% owned. Guy Santos starting after ages out, 30% owned. Trace Jackson Davis, flat 3K center, likely off the bench, 30% owned. I like Trace Jackson Davis a lot here. That price tag just doesn't support what he's going to play. Like, if there were prices lower than 3K, he'd be like $1,000 if he had like a normal day-to-day salary. He's $1,500 underpriced for what we're going to get out of him. Easy value. I kind of feel the same way about Santos and Pat Spencer. These 3K guys are tough to avoid. Like Pat Spencer's point guard, shooting guard eligible, flat 3K, and gonna play today. All those 3K guys I think are tough to avoid. I think the scariest person on this list is Will Richard, just because he's already 4,500. Now, don't get me wrong. He's going to play more than he typically does when everybody's in. I mean, I guess it's either him or Pods that like scare me the most out of these two, because the 3K guys, like, they're not going to ruin my day. They might stop me from winning, but they don't stop me from cashing. If you get Brandon Podziemski wrong, like that could just negatively affect everything.
Yeah, like I would say, like if Golden State just gets like absolutely killed here, again, those 3K guys are probably not going to kill you. But if you play like Podziemski or Moody or Richard, you definitely could be in trouble. Someone asked a good question of like, what would the blowout lineup be for Golden State? And it's kind of tricky. You do have the two-way guys available, so Jackson Rowe and Tahui. So I think those two would definitely be out there. Probably Pat Spencer, probably Jackson Davis, and then like one more. So that would be my guess.
I mean, by default, it's got to be. I think Santos closes blowouts too.
Yeah, I think he would probably be the most likely to add as the fifth guy.
Because after that, we're talking about Rowe, Tui, Spencer, Santos. Gary Payton would surprise me. Post or Trace Jackson Davis, it's going to be one of those two guys. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, we're sort of like out of the guys that like Will Richard and Moody are already starters. So I think it'd be something in that like Rowe, Tui, Spencer, Santos center combo. Mm-hmm. I don't think it'd be Payton, and like the rest of the guys are just like normal dudes.
Yeah. I'd be pretty surprised if it's Payton. What else? Like I think there's a chance that like Will Richard could close too. I think that's possible. The one guy that we didn't mention is Buddy Hield, 4,200. Again, he's questionable. If he plays, I don't think he starts. If he does surprisingly start, then I would have more interest in him. If he comes off the bench, I think he's just someone you can mix in tournaments. But if he gets ruled out, then Golden State would only have 10 available players. And that would make me feel a little bit better about some of these rotation guys.
So obviously we need all of this official news. But if I pull it up on FanDuel as well, because we need to hit on that angle, two different sites, two very distinctly different days. For Golden State, we have 70% ownership coming into Will Richard. He is 4K shooting guard eligible. Pods is 55% owned. Moody is 40. Trace Jackson Davis has power forward center at 3,600, so he's 20. Spencer's close to 20, and then it sort of falls off a cliff. So same names, different allocations on the FanDuel side, but that's what we have for Golden State. We're not done here, though. We also have Miami. Jaime Jaquez is the highest owned guy at 10%, and allegedly we have Bam Adebayo back. I find this Miami team really difficult to get to, given how long Bam was out and how much higher these prices are.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement there. Even with Jovic not expected to play here, I think it's still tough to get to Miami. I am expecting Bam to play here. I don't know if he'll play full minutes, but yes, I don't think I can get to Bam himself. And then that obviously would most likely move Chloe Ware to the bench, which would be basically impossible to get to him in that price point. I will say if I have to play someone on Miami, it probably would be Jaquez, but 7,100, not an amazing price point. I know the role's been solid.
No.
It's basically been him and Davion as the playmakers here for this team. But yeah, I think it's still tough for me to feel great about Jaquez at that price point. Larson's getting a little bit of ownership. I'm okay just not having it. Fontecchio will play a little bit more here without Jovic. But again, I think there's just better value with Golden State and a couple other spots, which we'll talk about.
There we go. I'll hop back over to the FanDuel side just to talk about this Miami team. It's the same scenario. It's all Golden State guys at the top of the list. Only this time it's Andrew Wiggins that's 8% owned. It's just really tough to sell Miami right now, given how long Bam was out. Every single person on this team has a price tag that's higher than it should be with Bam Adebayo in. So this just becomes we need the Golden State news game, and what that news and starting lineup ends up being, that will be very important. Lucky for you guys, we're live right now. We're live on this stream until 7 o'clock when you get to lock. And our guys behind the scenes are going to be waiting to make updates for whatever pops up here, whatever starting lineup we get. Here's the cool part about it. Do you want that kind of stuff? Because we're pretty good at this. Maybe you could just sign up at Stokastic. There's a link in the description of this video. It doesn't get any easier because you don't pay us anything. If you want to sign up and get a month of our sims, it's completely free. All you have to do is sign up through one of our partners, either a sportsbook or a pick'em site. So we're talking Better, Sleeper, Underdog. We're talking sportsbooks like Onyx Odds or BetMGM or Caesars, Fanatics. You sign up through one of those sites. All the information you need is at the link that you click on that's in the description. Sign up, follow the instructions. You end up with a month of the sims for no cost. But here's the even cooler part. If you're in a state where multiple offers are available to you, you can sign up for one. I feel like the Heat here. One, not two, not three, not four. You can get 6 months of the sims for free if you're qualified to sign up through 6 of these partners. So if you want sims, if you want to come in and see what we have, there's no better deal that you can find than completely free by clicking the link below. We continue on. We're going to circle back to the other 7 o'clock game, but I wanted to make sure that we gave Golden State and Miami some time. Toronto and Philly is starting at 7. Very dumb game. Colin Murray-Boyle's doubtful for this one. Ochai Agbaji is in for this one. Toronto, we know their starting lineup. It's 4 guys that shouldn't play together and Jakob Poeltl. And yet here we are. But we're only getting to Philly with any sort of real love. 25% ownership to Drummond, 25% ownership to Maxey, and then scattered 10 to Barnes, Barrett, Grimes, Edgecombe. We have no Kelly Oubre, no Paul George, no Joel Embiid. So how are you feeling about Andre Drummond here? Because he's been starting for a while now, and this might be the best he's looked.
Yeah, he's been playing well. I tweeted something out the other day about it was a trivia question, and I'm pulling it up right now because I was I remember what my friend actually came up with it. I was shocked. Which NBA player with at least one All-Star appearance currently has the best BPM to salary ratio this season? And it's Drummond. He's been good. Again, BPM's been solid for him. And he's playing big minutes right now too. 35, 33, 36, 38 minutes. They don't really have a backup center right now. No
Adam Bona, by the way. I forgot to mention that too. So it's not just Embiid, it's Bona as well.
Yeah, so Bona out too. So you're going to see Barlow / Trenton Watford play some backup 5. But yeah, I think if he avoids foul trouble, you're probably expecting 35 minutes for Drummond. He's been a pretty good per minute player. So ownership to me feels about right. I don't think it's too high, too low. So yeah, totally fine with Drummond. I agree with close to 30% ownership.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it either. I mean, like eventually it feels like the clock's going to strike midnight on this dude, but he's playing like legitimate, real heavy minutes, and you can't ignore that right now. Speaking of guys that play real, legitimate, heavy minutes, Tyrese Maxey's 10K today, and with all those guys out, he's 22% owned. The pay-up structure of everything on this slate is very weird, and that's causing Maxey to get this kind of ownership. I didn't expect him to be like super popular, and then once I saw all the pay-ups, I was like, oh, guess I'm not surprised. Decent enough spot for Maxey, but like he's just going to play 40 minutes if this game's anything resembling real.
Yeah, he's going to play 40 minutes in competitive game, lead the team in usage. The only concern is I think that Toronto will probably throw a lot of double teams at him, get the ball out of his hands. But yeah, we have like infinite value. You got to spend it somewhere. Maxey 20%, I think is totally fine. I do think Quentin Grimes at around 10% is interesting, especially if Toronto does, double Maxey a lot and get the ball out of his hands. I think that would benefit Quentin Grimes. Now, I'm not 100% sure that he will start here. So obviously we're going to see Maxey, Drummond, Edgecombe, and Barlow as 4 starters for sure. Fifth starter, I think, will probably be either Grimes or Justin Edwards, I think could start. But
I agree
either
with you,
way,
by the way.
Yeah, either way, if Grimes starts or not, I like him. I would like him a little bit more. It starts to come to the bench. I would like him a little bit more if he does start. But I think he's kind of sneaky right now at around 10% ownership. So like the upside here on Grimes on a depleted 76ers team.
Well, since we have a depleted 76ers team, do you want to get to anything else? Do you want to try to crack the code of Barlow, Watford, Edwards, Walker? Or would you rather just stick to the guys that don't seem like they're all the same person?
Yeah, I think on a slate where we didn't have a lot of value, I would be more interested in like taking some shots there. But I think it's pretty hard to feel confident about anyone. I think if I had to play someone of that group, it would be Barlow, but not super confident in how that rotation is going to work as far as like those wings, like 3/4 guys for Philadelphia. So for me, I'll probably just be staying away from those guys.
You trying to find a Raptor to roll the dice on today? Try to pick the right version of Barnes, Barrett, Ingram, Pirtle, or Quickly?
Yeah, Toronto, I know we talk about it a lot. They're always tricky when they're like basically fully healthy, and they have been like almost all year. I think of the top 4 guys, Barnes would be the preferred option. He's 8,500. He's been foul trouble a decent amount, but 35 minutes in competitive game is certainly in the range of outcomes. Not getting a ton of ownership, so I think he's probably the preferred option for me. But like I would not say no to like Barrett or Ingram or Quickly. Those are all guys you can mix in. Jakob Poeltl, Mamouklashvili, Shaley, they should play majority of the center minutes. We do have so many good center plays, so I think it's tougher to get to those guys. But yeah, and then one other thing to note, Jamal Shed has been overlapping a little bit with Emmanuel Quickly. I don't think that really matters for this slate, but you have been seeing that a little bit more. So maybe in a future slate, that could be something that, Shed would be more in consideration than he is tonight.
By the way, Butler out, Draymond out, Buddy Hield in.
Okay. So yeah, that make things a little bit trickier for Golden State then with Hield in.
And Bam out, Jovic, or Bam in, Jovic out. Bam in, Jovic out. Let me repeat that since I fucked it up the first time.
Okay. Yeah. So nothing really surprising there.
I like Ingram the most from the Toronto guys. I don't have much of a take or anything here. He's 7,300. It's shooting guard. He's 6% owned. If I'm picking one of the dudes from Toronto, I pick Ingram. I prefer to pick none of them because I hate them all. I can't wait till I break this team up already. They stink. I hate it so much. It's like the exact opposite of how I would want to build a roster. So I just kind of hate them by default. So FanDuel side for this one, it's Maxey, quite popular, 30% owned. Drummond, less popular, 6,500, 15% owned. But remember, only one center spot. So Drummond's number was always going to look worse here because you can't roster him nearly as much. Scotty Barnes getting a little bit more love here. Grimes getting a little love. I stand by what I said before, though. A 5% owned Brandon Ingram would be the Raptor that I want here.
Jabari Smith just got rolled in too, FYI. So
there we go. Jabari Smith in for the Houston Rockets. So we've worked our way through 4 games so far. Now we're going to finish those DraftKings games off. And all 3 of these games suck. The Washington Wizards are 17-point dogs in Minnesota. The New Orleans Pelicans are 14-point dogs at home against Denver. The Kings are 18-point dogs on the road against OKC. Like 3 just steaming piles of garbage. But it's DFS. None of that is relevant to us. So, Washington Wizards. Oy, I don't even want to do this. Washington Wizards.
We just got one piece of news.
Timberwolves.
Sorry to cut you off. Steven Adams is going to start. So, Kogi coming off the bench for Houston.
So, Amin Thompson. So the opening night starting lineup again. Yes. Finally.
Yep.
Okay. Sure. Do whatever you want, Houston.
Yeah, that's I mean, I guess against Cleveland, it makes some sense to run that lineup out there, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it does. I don't like. Well, I talked about that a little bit here today too. Like. Do you want one of Alperen Şengün or Steven Adams guarding Evan Mobley on the perimeter? I can't imagine that's yes. Like, I get it. They're shorthanded. It's whatever. But, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad lineup. Like, they murk people. They're going to rebound everything. But, like, the double big lineup for the Cavs, like, I don't think it's better for Houston. I think it's worse. It just doesn't seem to matter because they're good. Mike Verdosa says, I feel you, Josh, but I trust Ime. Yeah, that's like, I'm not saying that I don't think that that's a good starting 5, because I do. But, like, from a matchup perspective, I would rather not have it. But fuck it, it's working. Houston's been great. I didn't expect this type of group to be 4th in offensive rating so far this season without a true creator at the point. But I have to ask the question, do you have any interest in a Clint Capella value option today, or is it just he's not going to get enough one way or the other?
I would if Jabari Smith was out, but
yeah,
I think Capella probably plays a little bit, but I would have been way more confident in his minutes if Jabari Smith is out. So yeah, I don't think I can get to Capella.
Okay, well, let's get to this Minnesota-Washington game, because there's some dumb stuff going on for this one too. I guess we're going to have to start with Washington. No Alex Sarr for this one. Expectation is going to be Marvin Bagley. Bagley, 15% owned. Hold on. Have we had an update here? Because he's 15% owned and 38% optimal. So I'm going to assume that these two things happened at like the same time. 2 minutes ago. Shout out, Rich. Let's pull this up now because I'm guessing the Marvin Bagley information looks a bit different now. Sure does. Marvin Bagley, $3,100, $100 above the minimum, 40% owned, 40% optimal. I'm going to bring this conversation into 2 people here because Tristan Vukcevic is also 3K, 10% owned, and minimally optimal. How do you want to handle the Bagley-Vukcevic duo for the Wizards here against Minnesota?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think these guys are going to play basically all the center minutes. The only worry I have is like Washington, they still have a lot of guys in the roster, and like maybe they dust off Anthony Gill and he plays a little bit. That would be the only concern. But yeah, I do think you're going to get most of the center minutes between Bagley and Vukcevic. Both these guys are pretty good point per minute. Again, I think that Bagley starts. He's getting like 40%. Vukcevic is getting 10%. If that holds, I think I would prefer Vukcevic factoring in the ownership. But both these guys are good plays, in my opinion. I do think if the game gets out of hand, which is probably likely, Vukcevic would probably be the guy on the court too. But yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these guys. But if the ownership's going to hold, I think I might slightly prefer Vukcevic.
By the way, when this game gets out of hand, surprisingly enough, the Minnesota Timberwolves will have their scrubs out there. But Washington sucks so bad. They've got like extra special guys that suck. I think Anthony Gill would probably be out there for them. He's the longest reigning Wizard. This dude never plays. He didn't even play to start. It's insane. I think he'd be out there. Vucevic could be out there, but I just wanted to give Anthony Gill a shout here.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm with you on the Vucevic. Like, the gap in ownership between those guys is concerning because neither one of them are worth getting excited about. Like, Vucevic is because he's 10% owned. Bagley, like, that just scares me. Because it's not like they care if Marvin Bagley gets the minutes. They'd probably prefer it to be Vucevic, to be perfectly honest. Do you think that this opens up anything else for Washington with Sarr out?
No, I think like Keyshawn George is playable in tournaments. No, he would probably be the rotation guy that I would take a shot on outside of the two centers. Role's been solid for him. Price has come down. So I think he's playable if you think Washington can keep this game competitive. But like, I don't think I'll be getting into the likes of like CJ or Middleton or Koulibaly. But who knows? Maybe this is the random game where like CJ will take over. We've seen that a couple times this year. But yeah, I think it's a little bit tougher to get to anyone else on this roster.
I agree. Minnesota, on the other hand, is looking pretty damn tasty. One, they just get to play the Wizards, which is incredibly beneficial to everything that you do when you get that matchup. But two, no Jaden McDaniels today. I didn't think he was going to play all day. The moment I saw that he was questionable and they're off tomorrow, I was like, why in the world would this dude play this basketball game today? Well, sure as shit, he's not. And that is resulting in 38% ownership to Julius Randle, 30% ownership to Naz Reid, 28% ownership to Ant. DiVincenzo getting in on the game at least a little bit. Nothing really coming into Gobert, not all that surprising. What do you like here for Minnesota? Who's benefiting the most? I liked Naz Reid a lot earlier today, and that had nothing to do with the McDaniels news. He's just been better and more involved as of late. But where do you want to go for this Wolves team?
Yeah, I mean, I like all the main guys here. Expecting like an 8-man rotation, fantastic matchup. So Randall's getting the most love, but I like him, Naz, and Anthony Edwards, and then goes your top three. Anthony Edwards, 9,100, reasonable price point. Obviously has a massive ceiling. Naz probably easy to get to because of salary, but I don't think you can go wrong with any of these guys. That being Randall, Naz, and Ant. The minutes have ticked up a little bit on Naz Reid recently too, so that is good to see. DiVincenzo at around 10% is just like someone you can mix in tournaments, but not really someone I'm going to prioritize. I would rather get to those other three guys that I mentioned. Gobert, I think, is playable just because he should be able to feast in this spot. But again, we have like 100 good center plays, so it's tougher to get to him because the opportunity cost. I think that they're going to start Jalen Clark here with McDaniels out, but he's going to be a pretty low usage player, more out there for defense. So I don't think it's necessary to get to him. Probably see a bump in minutes for Dillingham, but again, I don't think it's necessary to go there on this slate.
Yeah, I don't think it's really creating anything here. So resident chat bot, I don't even know what to say. Gofies. I've never really known how to say it. He just, for some reason, is always in here giving everybody information nobody needs. Apparently, Clark is in. I asked. He confirmed that is Brandon Clark. Memphis Grizzlies not on the slate today. And so super uninteresting news that doesn't matter at all. But thanks for bringing that to us in chat. You're worse than underdog somehow. Incredible. All right. So FanDuel for Minnesota and Washington is actually quite a bit of a different experience. Anthony Edwards is 25% owned. And then it kind of falls off a cliff because Marvin Bagley's 3,900. Tristan Vukcevic is the flatman 3,500. It's just a different play on FanDuel when you can only roster one center to get to one of these randos. Two guys that we don't even really trust to begin with. So when you're thinking about it on the DraftKings side, it's like, all right, I would like to get to one of these value centers for the Wizards. On FanDuel, Bagley's 6% owned. Not a single priority here whatsoever. So if you're getting anything from the Wolves on the FanDuel side, it appears that Anthony Edwards is the priority. Weird day. It's such an interesting dynamic. So many people must listen to these shows and hear us talk about DraftKings, and then they're like, fucking Marvin Bagley, man. He was like 2% owned. Has to happen so frequently. Not the first game or the second game that will be garbage, but all three should be garbage coming in at this 8 o'clock window. We're going to get to the next one. Denver Nuggets, New Orleans Pelicans. Now, shout out to the Chicago Bulls for actually beating the Denver Nuggets here. Denver's a little different right now. Christian Brown is out. We're getting 25% ownership to a 13K Nikola Jokic today, miles ahead of everybody else. Let's just have this conversation. How do you feel? Because some of the value that we have is joining him at center, if we're talking about the Washington side. Are you able to get to Jokic?
Yeah, I think you definitely can. Like earlier in the day, I think it was tougher to get to Jokic. Again, we do have a lot of value at center, but we have value elsewhere too. So I definitely think you can get to Jokic. Ownership around 25%, I think is reasonable. Like absolutely love the matchup here against the Pelicans. Like even in 3 quarters, Jokic could put up like 65 and that might be enough on the slate. So yeah, ownership feels right to me. I don't really have any super strong takes. I know that price is insane, but again, you got to spend your salary somewhere. And like if you're looking at the spend ups on this slate, you have Jokic at 13K, and then the next highest guy is SJ at 10.6, Maxey at 10K. Yeah. Those are the only guys over 10K. So yeah, I have no issue getting into Jokic even at that price point.
And SGA might play tonight with like one of his arms tied behind his back just to make it more of a challenge at this point. Yeah, look, it's not all that hard to get to Jokic, so I'd like to get to Jokic. 27% optimal, 25% owned looks totally reasonable. You know what doesn't look reasonable? Anything else in this game. 8% ownership to Derek Queen. Do you think he's starting as the center today?
No. So
same.
The Pelicans Twitter account tweeted out a shoot around, and he was not in a starter jersey. So that leads me to believe that I think Zion's going to play. So I don't think he's going to start. I still think he can play decent minutes, but I'm not expecting Queen to start here.
Oh, this had nothing to do with Zion in my mind. This is the perfect opportunity to like start Looney for 6 minutes at the beginning of the first quarter and third quarter, just so Derek Queen doesn't have to look like a complete moron out there guarding Jokic. Like he has no idea. He has no idea what he's doing. He doesn't understand. Like he's great. He's as raw as it gets. He doesn't know what a Nikola Jokic is. It's like me going to watch David Blaine and thinking that I can do that magic. Like I can't. It's a different scenario altogether. I didn't think they were going to start him just to like. They have these other idiots. You burn Looney at the beginning, so you don't have Derek Queen pick up 2 in 90 seconds, and then you bring Derek Queen in and you play it out. It was my expectation, but I don't want anything for this Pels team. I don't know how you do it. And I've been playing a lot of Jeremiah Fears.
Yeah, like he would probably be the one guy, like him and Derek Queen, I think are still viable. But Fears should continue to start. He's also closed the last 3 blowouts, so does raise his floor a little bit. But yeah, I think it's really just those two with like a little bit of interest. And then I think it's really hard to get to the rest of this team. So, again, I am expecting Zion to play. I think he'll be limited, and makes it really hard to get to anyone else here in New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't have it here. I think Peyton Watson's probably like a little bit more interesting than he should be, than he shows as an ownership guy today. But at the same time, he's Peyton Watson and he's not going to be like super involved, and we have plenty of value already. So I don't have much else to add here for this Denver New Orleans game. I'm going to pull it up on the FanDuel side since it's obviously slightly different over there. Jokic is 26% owned, slightly cheaper, 12,800. Similarly, though, there's no ownership going on right now in this game outside of Jokic. For
Denver, just one other thing to add. Aaron Gordon, questionable injury management. I don't think he's going to play. And I think that could open up a little bit here for Denver. My guess is that Tim Hardaway Jr. would start, and they would go Jamal Murray, Tim Hardaway Jr., Cam Johnson, Watson, and Jokic. Those value plays, Tim Hardaway Jr., Peyton Watson, even Cam Johnson, I think are guys you can mix in for tournaments. Watson, I think, has kind of underperformed for the amount of minutes that he's been getting, like 34 minutes in back-to-back games. He's been like about half a fantasy point per minute. Like he's not a super high usage player, but I would expect him to be better than half a fantasy point per minute. So think he's interesting. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. interesting, and Cam Johnson finally played good minutes, played 37 minutes last game. So those three, again, basically getting no ownership right now, are guys I think you can mix in here. Because again, I don't think Aaron Gordon's going to play.
We've got 2 super chats to hit quickly. Phoenix Reeves said, favorite small forward or forward under 5,200. I keep landing on Bilal. I actually like Bilal Coulibaly as like a rando play today, just because like he's a real dude for the Wizards. So when he's out there, like he's going to play when things are correct. There are worse things, I think, than getting to someone like him under 5,200. So Richard. I mean, Bilal Coulibaly is at 5,100, and he is the highest owned or ranked guy. The other guy would be Fears, if you're trying to like spend all that salary. Otherwise, you're going to just end up with a bunch of salary left over. And at that point, I don't know what to tell you on like what you can upgrade.
Yeah, if he needs like a forward, I think like one of those Denver guys you just mentioned are playable. Yeah. But yeah, there's not a lot really in that range that like stands out.
And Langston said, who are your favorite Warriors tonight? Love the show. It's still TBD a little bit because we don't know the starting lineup at this point. As I look at it right now, I think my answer is Pat Spencer.
Yeah, I think for me, it's Jackson Davis, but
he's my number 2.
Yeah, I want to see like finalize or like ownership up to lock. Like that's gonna play a role in what I want to do. So I'm gonna keep an eye on the ownership for sure.
All righty. Final game on the DraftKings slate. Sacramento Kings, 18.5 point dogs against the Oklahoma City Thunder. No Domantas Sabonis for Sacramento today. Apparently Keegan Murray close to coming back, so that's helpful. For Oklahoma City, I don't even know if it matters to mention what's going on for them. But let's hit their injury report just because. No Aaron Wiggins, Jalen Williams, Kenrich Williams, Nikola Topic, Thomas Sorber. 10% ownership coming into Shea, and then that's it. Look, I like these guys, and I've tried to play Shea a little bit and Chet a little bit. They're not playing because they're just beating the living hell out of every single team they play, and they beat everybody up both ways. They're better on offense than everybody else, and they're so much better on defense than everybody else that it's comical. And all of a sudden, everybody's down by 20, and they don't even have to be good to do it. What do you want to do anything here for OKC? We could talk about Sacramento after this, but do you have any interest in OKC?
Yeah, it's just such a mismatch that like I have a hard time seeing this game stay competitive. I think if I had to play someone, it probably would be SGA. The one thing is, even with the blowouts, SGA like usually always plays the entire third quarter. So like he's usually around 30 minutes, even in games that get out of hand. So like, could he put up a score that you need in 30 minutes? I think it's possible in this matchup. So
yeah, look, 30 minutes, 2 fantasy points a minute. He gets 60, but like that's a dream scenario.
Right. And then like, yeah, I love the matchup for these other guys, but I think it's hard to get to them. Like the front court, like Hartenstein's in a smash spot, Chet's in a really good spot, but price points are not amazing in those guys. Isaiah Joe has closed the last 3 blowouts. He's 4,200. He's someone that will play in the regular rotation. And then again, he's been closing with the scrub. So, in a large field tournament, I think you can mix him in a little bit at 2%. And then, I don't think there's anyone else for me for Oklahoma City I would consider.
Are you considering any of these Sacramento idiots? Because the highest owned guy right now is Russell Westbrook at 2.5.
Yeah, I think Westbrook would be the guy. Like if Sacramento can somehow keep this game competitive, I think like you're going to need a pretty big game here from Westbrook. He's a guy that does have triple-double upside with Sabonis off the court. So at no ownership, like if you were playing SGA on the opposite side, it might make sense to run it back like Westbrook in a tournament lineup.
Sure.
So yeah, I think Westbrook would probably be the guy. I'm not confident Keon Ellis starts again. I know he started the last couple of games. Schroeder played really well off the bench. There's a chance that he moves back in the starting lineup. I think that Eubanks and Precious Achiuwa will probably play a majority of the center minutes, but they still have other bodies. So I think it's tough to get to Eubanks. Achua on a different slate, I think would be more in play, but still, I don't think I'm going to get to him either. So, I think it's just Westbrook, and that's it.
Malakar with the question: better to play early games or chase money line with late? I mean, there's no right answer. Technically speaking, it's slightly better to have later players just because it affords you the opportunity to swap them. But like, we're talking about very marginal differences in these things. It depends who it is. It depends like what the news situation is. But it doesn't matter if you play early or late games, technically, other than just eating late swap opportunities. But like, if Giannis is awesome at 7:00, like, it doesn't matter that somebody plays at 7:30.
Yep, I'm in agreement there. So,
yeah, like if you got a coin flip between two guys and you don't know what to do, yeah, like I might go late just because, but ultimately, just try to get the lineup you think is the best lineup. So there are 2 more games on FanDuel, and we're going to touch on them very briefly. We got a couple minutes yet before we turn this one over to Eric and Greg for Live Before Lock. Knicks, Mavs, Bulls, and Blazers. So we've got the Blazers here, we've got the Knicks here, we've got the Mavs here, and we've got the Chicago Bulls. And there is some pretty healthy ownership coming in to these teams. 50% to Caleb Love, 50% to Denny Avdia, 30% to Jeremy Grant, and about 15% for Brunson, Washington, Kamara, and Giddey. Do you have any thoughts on the $3,500 Caleb Love? Because I don't think anybody's going to be all that shocked to see Denny Avdia be popular.
Yeah, so Caleb Love, it would depend on if Jeremy Grant plays or not. He is questionable because I think if Jeremy Grant plays, they would just start Denny at the point, and they would go Denny, Chris Murray, Grant, Kamara, and Klingon. So if Love's off the bench, like I don't like him as much, especially at that ownership. But if Jeremy Grant gets ruled out, then I think they will start Caleb Love. So that's important. Denny, again, I think is great. But yeah, this Portland team in general, I think is really good to get to. Like the matchup a lot. They're really shorthanded. They're playing against Chicago. That's not great defensively. So there's a good amount. Like the minutes on Klingon have been up recently in competitive games. So Rob Williams is out too. Like Portland's really shorthanded and it gets bought. So I like a lot of Portland here.
How are you feeling about this Jalen Brunson situation today? 8,200, close to 20% owned, missed the last 2.
Yeah, so I'm expecting him to play. He had the starter jersey on at warmups. I don't think he's going to be limited. So,
no.
I think he's fine. I don't really have any super strong takes there. What's your thoughts on Brunson?
I mean, I'm always nervous just because, like, it feels like threat of re-injury is higher right now. If he plays, he just plays. Like, they're not bringing Jalen Brunson back off of this injury after 2 games, and he's going to play like 27 minutes or something. That's when he's available, he's just going to be out there. So he's available. He's going to be out there, 20% owned. I don't have like a huge issue with it, and obviously there's a bit of revenge narrative there if you care about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then
although at this point in time, I'm gonna guess he's fucking stoked. He's not on Dallas.
Yeah, I think he's pretty happy he's not on Dallas either. And then one other thing to note for Dallas, Cooper Flag was a late addition to the injury report with an illness. If he doesn't play, I think that Najee Marshall would start. And then you would get like more usage for like Brandon Williams, PJ Washington. So that would be my guess for the starter if Flag gets rolled out.
Do you think that Cooper Flag is sick or is ill with being sick and tired of the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah, I think he's just like sick and tired of this team. He's like, I'm not playing.
I don't blame him. Those are the 9 games that happened today. But if you're understanding what's happening today, we're not done here, folks. NBA Live Before Lock is coming up next. But before they do, DK, tell the people where to find you.
Yeah, you guys can find me over on Tails, posting some free content. Posted a free bet earlier today. Doing DFS content as well as props. So pick'em stuff, sportsbook stuff. If you guys are interested in that, yeah, Isaiah Jackson have some money on his props. So hoping he can avoid foul trouble, but knowing my luck, he'll pick up 2 quick ones.
Subscribe on Tails, baby, and download the Tails app. And if you do it, leave a review and a rating. It helps us out a ton. The link is in the description. But if you want free bets, pick'em cards, DFS coverage, you're in luck. This is the place to be, and it won't cost you anything. Greg Ehrenberg, Eric Lindquist, they are both here for Live Before Lock to take you all the way up to 7 on this mess of a Wednesday slate. What's going on, boys? Come on in. Nice to see you guys.
Could not be more excited to talk about Golden State Warriors value for today. So, here we go. Got everything added to the screen here. And yeah, much like what DK was saying today, this has been, I got in on the Heat today. There have been so many times this year where I've beaten CLV on some of these like massive, lots of players getting rolled out. And it just does. And it's gotten killed this year so many times. So surely the Heat have to win tonight, right? Surely.
Just out of curiosity, did Rozier give you that info?
No, Chauncey Billups. What's the difference?
That's fair. That's fair. You going to play poker after this one too?
Yeah. I've got Tim Donaghy's calling the fouls tonight. Everything the stars should be aligned.
Oh my God.
You've been sending him $50 for his commissary every week, haven't you?
He only makes you send him 50?
He didn't send me anything, man. I'm not tied into all these degenerate guys like you. We don't have Jonte Porter on speed dial like Greg Ehrenberg.
Well, you guys better get out of here before I give away too much information. And he's asking questions. He's asking questions I want to have answers for. So DK, Josh, get out of here. It's time for NBA Live Before Lock. If you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Eric and I are going to be reacting to whatever happens over the course of the day. We got Steven Adams back in the starting lineup here for the Rockets tonight. That Golden State Warriors starting lineup, which unless it came out in the last couple of minutes, I haven't seen that starting unit. That'll be interesting. I'm very curious to hear from you right out of the gate here, Eric. What is your best guess for the Warriors starters? There's obviously a lot of directions this could go.
Brandon Pajemski.
Okay.
Go Will Richard, Moses Moody, Trace Jackson Davis, Quentin Post.
Ooh. Okay. So I think it's pretty easy to feel good about Pajemski, Richard, Moody, and Post. The final one is that could be like the Peter Griffin. It could be anything. It could even be a boat. Yeah. It could be anything, that final starter.
Queen Santos. I mean, at this point, it's just like, we'll hit that news when we get to it. We obviously have a lot of lineups that have that news in mind. So I don't really care who it ends up being. I'll play whatever idiot they decide to click on for that specific day. But part of me thinks with Bam Adebayo in, maybe they don't start Post, but like I've talked myself in and out of that multiple times, just trying to figure out what I want to do from a betting angle. But I do think Post just starts. They probably go Gui Santos if they don't go Trace Jackson Davis, but I don't know. Rebounding kind of been an issue for Golden State. Talked about that before the season started. Not really sure what they do. I don't think it matters. We're just going to play whoever it is.
Pretty interesting here. And I mean, we're going to have to spend a little bit of time talking about the Warriors. I've got them filtered on screen here. Whoops, wrong one. Here it is. We've got from Doug here. How many Warriors in the winning lineup today? What's your best guess, Eric? Based on my lineups, I hope it's a lot.
Yeah, 3.5 is probably the over-under. I would probably be leaning towards the over ever so slightly, but like 3.5. There's the line. Do you take the over or the under?
Well, you sort here. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to say 3 as my official guess. Just because I think there's just enough games on this slate, 7, where I also think it's different if you're asking about DraftKings or FanDuel. In general, if people don't specify a site, I tend to think that they're just meaning DraftKings because that is where more of our audience.
But then you get Portland, which is just a fuckery. I mean, Portland just has fuckery going on today. I mean, we're going to have Caleb Love at 99% owned. I mean, come on now. This is absurd.
So I've got us sorted here by our projections from Golden State. And you'll see here just in terms of fantasy point projections, a lot of these guys are cheap, but they're not as cheap as you would normally think in this kind of scenario. Where like Pajemski, 6K, Moody's 5,600, Quentin Post is still 4,600. I would say more if it was a scenario where these guys were like really, really cheap. To me, they're really, really good values, but they're not so cheap where I think we're going to see like 4 or 5 of them in a winning lineup. Could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, there's enough 3K guys. I guess it kind of depends who the other starter is. Maybe Pat Spencer, maybe Trace Jackson Davis. Maybe something happens where it's just a complete run out where we still get enough of these pieces of value. But I'm with you where like 3 is probably the chalk. But I set it at 3.5 just simply to like have some conversation for it. Post is at center only. Richard is at shooting guard only. Moody's at small forward only. Podziemski's at point guard only. That kind of changes the equation a little bit. We have no MPE unless Buddy Hield, who I believe is still questionable for today, although I think got ruled in. I think he got taken off the injury report at some point in time.
Yeah, correct. He's not on the injury report anymore.
Okay, good. Yeah, I thought I saw that on NBA injury report. But anyway, my whole thing is that like we're still going to rotate through a lot of these guys. Which 3 it ends up being, I think is pretty difficult because it kind of matters game script here as well, positionality as well. But we'll see what other news pops up here over the course of the next, 54 minutes that we have. You're doing playback after this as well, correct?
As of now, no. If there's a ton of stuff outstanding, then potentially I might do it by myself. I'm planning on trying something for the late slate that I'm going to post to Twitter after this ends.
Gotcha. Yeah, for me, Aaron Gordon is obviously the one thing that could tip this in one way or another. If Aaron Gordon ends up sitting against New Orleans, you're probably getting some interest in guys like Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., and you're probably, no matter what, getting Peyton Watson starting. I mean, we've seen his fantasy score go up from like 22.5 to 25.5 on places like Prize Picks. We've got him projected decently well. Like, there's guys that are interesting that could potentially take away and strip from some of this value that have MPE, Bruce Brown being the specific one I'm thinking of. But yeah, Golden State, they're popular for a reason. We're going to play at least 3 of these idiots in most lineups.
Norm in chat wants to know promo code on DraftKings. Boy, I can't remember maybe ever that we're doing one of these shows where people asked for a promo code. Here's what you should be doing. I mean, even better than a promo code for yourself there, Norm. Go check out our link join. There's a link down below in the YouTube description box. And for each one of our partners that you sign up for, you get 1 free month of Stokastic Sims. So go down to that link down below, sign up for DraftKings through that link, and you're going to get yourself a free month of Stokastic NBA. I mean, it could be any single sport of your choosing. It could be NFL, could be NBA, could be whatever. But considering you're watching an NBA show, I tend to think you're probably more likely to want an NBA subscription, anything else. So yeah, sign up for DraftKings using that link down below. Then when you go play at DraftKings, get a free month of the Sims. You could use those to build yourself some profitable lineups there. So that's what you should be doing. And that'll be the best promo you could possibly get for I'm also just coming to realize too, did he mean DKDFS or did he actually, well, did he say DraftKings? I'm trying to remember.
He did say just DK. It was just DK.
Okay.
It didn't say DKDFS. Yeah. Rich just posted in the chat as well. Merrill's out. So I assume this is going to be Lonzo Ball starting next to Mitchell, but we'll find out here shortly. Good times. We got news rolling in.
Yeah. If you meant actual DraftKings, like I said, link join is down below. If you did mean DKDFS, go follow him over on Twitter at DKDFS and ask him, because I don't actually know off the top of my head. Do you know by chance, Eric?
I don't know if he has any promo going on right now, but overall, he's got a bunch of stuff going on nonstop. Plus, if you're just in a pick'em spot or if you're just in a sports betting spot, his packages are deviated where you're able to sign up for what is applicable to you. So if you're just looking for pick'em, if you're just looking for sports books, you have an awesome opportunity to sign up for him. Plus, I mean, I tailed him on Isaiah Jackson, got plus 1,040 the other night on his double-double. DKDFS is just the man when it comes to NBA betting. If you're not tailing him over on Tails with some of his free stuff, you're doing it wrong. If you're not in his VIP, you're probably also doing it wrong, because I'm in there almost every single day checking out everything that he's posting, because I find him to be one of the sharpest in the industry. Proven profitable, proven awesome dude. Check it out.
And this is why we keep Eric around here. He is the Stokastic package expert. That's actually his job title, package expert. So shout out to Eric for that. Maybe we could add.
So great to have you back on shows, Greg. Missed you so much. God damn it. Oh, this guy.
What's wrong? Somebody asked a question about a package. You got the answer. You're on top of it.
What's your job title then?
Just local asshole.
There you go. Trying to think of what would be on Greg's business card. 1, he doesn't have one, but 2, what if he did? I wonder what it would be. There's the fluffer.
Just a picture
you, Ryan Cox. Honestly, you know what? No, that's actually pretty funny. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a picture of myself behind bars. So also, if you guys have any questions for us as we go here, you know the deal. Either tag me in Discord, leave a super chat. We'll be on the lookout for those. I do want to know from you, what are the key pieces of injury news that you are still waiting on right now? Because for the most part, it looks like we've got kind of everything we're looking for other than that Warriors starting lineup. But is there anything that is really important to you for the main slates that you are keeping an eye on that you think could drastically change your lineups?
Yeah, for DraftKings, Aaron Gordon, and for FanDuel, Cooper Flag. Those are the two that I'm kind of got my eye on. If Cooper Flag sits, I think you end up getting Najee Marshall starting, and you potentially have Najee Marshall looking pretty darn good over on the FanDuel slate. So for me, that's one that, again, because of how much Portland I have for FanDuel, I'm not worrying about it too much. I mean, we have so much Denny Avdia, so much Caleb Love, so much of those other guys, but there's a flat 5K Najee Marshall who we've seen him play small ball 4, 5, we've seen handle point guard duties at times. We've seen a lot of different configurations of Najee Marshall there in Dallas. A guy that whenever he starts, I just try to get myself way over the field on. We'll see what happens here with Cooper Flag specifically, but I assume that we would end up getting him out there. We also have Caleb Martin questionable in that same spot. So that would take him out of the conversation of somebody else, but I don't think Clay would end up being the guy that they'd bring in there and then have Max Christie at the 3. I think they kind of made their bet as far as what Clay's going to be. He's going to be an off the bench, sub 24, 26 minute guy going forward. If Cooper Flag sits, I do think we're going to have some interest in Dallas pieces, but Jalen Brunson, I suppose, too. I mean, I didn't bring him up, but I assume he plays considering he's questionable in this spot. But Aaron Gordon on the DraftKings slate, that's the obvious one we're paying attention to.
All right, we got some questions that are starting to roll in here from the Discord. And the first question here, it is from our guy, Coach DFS, asking his normal question. He wants to know, who are the core plays for us in a DraftKings GPP? So I think there are some caveats that are going to have to come with this in terms of, the Warriors starting lineup. We don't quite have that, and that could obviously change some of the top value options that we're looking at overall on the slate. But at least as of right now, who are the players that you feel like you cannot go without if you're building a single GPP lineup?
I think even if he were to come off the bench, which I don't think he does, but Will Richard, the one game where we saw him just by himself, the guy is going to be a usage monster. He's going to go out and chuck in some of these spots. If anybody watched that game against Sacramento, I remember it was 2 weeks ago. I watched that thing and I was like, holy shit, Will Richard might be the best offensive player on the floor for Golden State right now. He put up 30 real points. He was knocking down threes. He was very forward in terms of usage. I felt really good about Will Richard. So no matter what, he's your most popular play on the slate. There's not a planet where I wouldn't play him in single entry today. I honestly don't think there's another one that's a guarantee, but I do think off the bench, Pat Spencer, no matter what, part of me doesn't want Pat Spencer starting. And I feel this way about the Spencer brothers. With Memphis, eventually we're going to get a start for him and we're going to just jam him because he's a great fantasy producer. It's kind of the same thing that I feel right now about Pat Spencer, because no matter what, he's a good fantasy producer to a certain extent. He's a flat 3K on DraftKings. And I like the idea of just being able to have a point guard, shooting guard guy at 3K that no matter what the game script is going to be on the floor for X amount of minutes. There's not a game script that he doesn't show up enough in no matter what. Whereas Marvin Bagley, he's more popular. He's at center only. And I do think there's a lot of game scripts where he won't close, where it won't be a big deal. So I kind of like the Pat Spencer piece a little bit more, but honestly, I will just give you one for right now. Will Richard's the only guy who's set in stone in my single entry lineup. And I know that's not answering the question per se, but it's the right answer in my opinion.
Yeah. So I am going to, so as far as value, Will Richard, I'm going to say Pajemski as well. I'm kind of surprised he doesn't have higher ownership. We've got Pajemski 26% owned in our last run of ownership. Let me double check to make sure that hasn't changed.
He's 30 right now. But that's fine. 30% most places, he's fine.
No, still 26% for Pajemski. Yeah, 26%. We've got him 36% optimal. So I thought Podziemski was going to be like 40 to 50% owned when considering the players who are out for the Warriors. So I'll add Podziemski to the mix as somebody who I feel like that if I was building a lineup right now, I couldn't go without. There's so many guys you could potentially mention on the high end. I'm going to go with Jokic for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's Nikola Jokic, right? Like if we're just to say, take bets on who scores the most fantasy points today, I think a lot of us are pretty inclined to say Nikola Jokic. But the other thing that's nice here as well, his game locks at 8 p.m. Eastern time, right? So that is the final slate of locking games for DraftKings, and that is near the end of the slate for FanDuel purposes. There's only 2 games that lock after that, being New York, Dallas, and Chicago, Portland. So a couple things happen if you have Nikola Jokic in your lineup. More players get ruled out, or maybe cheaper players start for the Warriors. Cool. It makes it even easier to get to Nikola Jokic, but also he takes up so much salary. He gives you a lot of maneuverability for post-lock as well in the case that you do need to make some changes. So I'm going to add Jokic to the mix, not even somebody who needs to be in your final lineup, but if I was just building one lineup, he would be in it right now because I love the flexibility that he brings. And I'm obviously not upset if I do end up with Jokic in the lineup. Like I'm overweight to him right now.
Yeah, love that shout out. Purely any time you've heard Greg and I on shows for the last, 5 years we've been doing this together. If there is a ton of value on a slate, you best believe we are playing the top projected guys. We're going to play the Jokic's, the SGAs, the Tyrese Maxey on this slate, guys of the world. Like we're going to play them. Şengün's interesting. Again, there's 2 centers you can play on the slate, and he's going up against a Cleveland front court that's pretty imposing. But like you look at the raw fantasy points for these guys, he's sitting at 49. Şengün is. Jokic is up there like around 65.5. Like no matter what you're doing today, if you have as much value as we have on the Golden State side, you'd be doing it wrong not to at least be overweight to Jokic, and if not, just jamming him on these kind of slates.
So just kind of curious related to that, because what we have right now is we know we're going to have a good amount of value depending on starting lineups. I'm not exactly sure who those values are going to be. Is Jokic your overall favorite pay up option or somebody else? Because this is something that has a little bit less variability amongst the other variables that we're going to talk about in the next 45 minutes.
Yes and no. Like he's my favorite spend up that like he's projected for 65.5. If you get 60 out of Jokic, there's a world where he ends up optimal a lot of the time. And we have him at like 26% optimal. I feel as though because of the Golden State pieces we can move in and out, I would be moving that number up. Like the optimal number for Jokic, unless Şengün just goes for like 65, 70, and you just absolutely need to have him. And then he opens up like another position where you'd have Maxey or you'd have Mitchell or you'd have Edwards, who I was a lot higher on this morning, Edwards. And then as this slate is kind of unfolded, it's like, do I really have the money to spend for Edwards going forward? So I have some bets on him that have some nice CLV, but like overall, I'm probably just going to the tippy top with Jokic. And then, I mean, I don't really think there's like another priority of anybody that I really want to be getting to outside of like, if Gordon sits, Jamal Murray as well on the same side, Peyton Watson, like we've got other guys that we can get to there. But like in terms of spend ups, like Jokic is on an island on this slate, Greg. Like you know that, I know that, we know that, the projections and the Sims know that. And that's the important part for all of you.
Nikola Jokic, which you're getting to, I mean, this is such a big gap. This is, unless there's like a 2-game slate I'm not thinking of, I'm pretty sure this is the biggest gap of the year we've had between the highest and the second highest projected player on the slate. Yep. And it's not even like the second highest projected player on the slate is some piece of garbage or anything like that. It's SGA, your reigning MVP. And there's a 14 fantasy point gap between him and Nikola Jokic. Also, just something I've been thinking about a lot lately, as dominant as OKC has been, there's been a single update on Jalen Williams. I have no clue when he's returning, but he was initially listed as questionable for the first game on the slate. And now we're a month into the season, haven't heard anything about him. So OKC is about to get like markedly better in the coming weeks, months, whenever it is that he comes back. But yeah, we're looking at a 14 fantasy point gap between Nikola Jokic and SGA. One thing I am certain of, 13K is the highest any player's been priced of the entire season. Do you think that salary is too high, too low, or just about right for Nikola Jokic?
Oh, we're 3 little bearsing it here on Wednesday. Yeah, I think it's just about right at 13K. It could be higher. He's a 2 fantasy point per minute guy. He's averaging, Greg, So I went back and looked at some of the Russell Westbrook triple-double numbers of days of yore, because remember that was on SportsCenter every day, all day, nonstop. Oh my God, Oscar Robertson, the triple-double numbers, the Russell Westbrook. Nobody's even talking about Joker right now. Nobody even cares. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. We're so spoiled in the sporting world. And I don't know, maybe it's because YouTube TV, I've got it, you've got it, we've got it. It was basically out of operation for 2 weeks for us to not be able to tune into the ESPN feed and everything else. But like, I've seen quotes after the fact, like even Shaq, Charles Barkley, guys who haven't been like forward on Jokic in a lot of ways. This is just stupid what he's doing on a day in, day out basis. So like, I think it's about appropriate, but on a slate like this, where we just have tons of value, I could argue that Jokic should be 14K.
Yeah. I mean, some of his efficiency numbers, not that it matters all that much for DFS in the grand scheme of things, they're fairly insane. I mean, he's shooting 65% from the field overall, 39.5% from three. And I mean, it's not like he
just wants to be at the racetrack. He just wants to be at the racetrack right now. He just wants to be like cheering on the ponies, just slapping the thing like grandpa, you know, doing the thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what grandpa does. What does he do? Could you do that one more time?
Go! Ah! When his horse crosses? Yeah, that's what it is.
We got a super chat here from Rich. First time maxing a contest. Any advice? Yeah, rely on the data. Trust the data.
Yeah.
There are going to be times where you look at this and be like, I don't know that I want to be playing this guy. Or a lot of times for something like a showdown, I know that you're not necessarily playing like NFL DFS showdown. People are like, I don't want to play the defenses. Trust the data. It doesn't mean you can't tinker with it a little bit and do ROI boost where you see fit. But in general, trust the data. If you do have any questions individually about how to use the tools, which maybe I'm just projecting something that's incorrect, but I'm kind of taking this to mean that you are new to the tools. I also do have a tutorial on how to use them up on the YouTube channel that could help you. But anything else that you would offer, Rich, as some advice here?
Yeah, two things. One, out of 150, if you're maxing the main contest, put in a lineup or two that are just what you want it to be. Like, I don't want you to be mad about the projections, mad about anything else. Like, out of 150 portfolio, go ahead and build a lineup or two that are exactly what you want it to be. But the other part of it, kind of speaking to what Greg is saying, is don't get cute. Like, don't get cute in a way where you feel as though you have to like get so aggressive to do such an unbelievable thing. There are only 8 lineup spots on DraftKings. Our projections are the best in the DFS industry. If you trust on those and rely on those, and you don't try to get too cute with any specific stand that I'm talking about, Greg's talking about, anybody's talking about, you're going to be in such a good place relative to the field. And that's the goal every day in NBA DFS, is just having better lineups than the rest of the field, regardless of what the results end up being.
All right. We got a couple questions from Discord here. This is from, well, it's actually the same question asked twice here in a row. So let's, Young Metro Boomin, don't worry, I got your question. I saw he tried typing it a few different ways in Discord, and then somebody tagged me in it. So I got you, Young Metro Boomin. It's also very, very similar to Mr. Cool Cam's question. What they want to know from each of us is who are our favorite plays on FanDuel for GPPs at each position. So let's look at the FanDuel side of things and looking at our favorite options at each position, beginning at point guard, Eric. Who is your favorite overall play at point guard on FanDuel?
On FanDuel, let me pull up my FanDuel stuff because I only built one. So it's the exact inverse. Yesterday, I built 150 on FanDuel, broke even, no big deal. Today,
congrats.
Thank you. No, I felt pretty good about it after
from time to time.
Sometimes, you know what? It's the slates that you don't get obliterated that it's all okay on. Today, I'm playing one lineup over on FanDuel, and then I'm playing 150 over on DK. So the exact inverse of yesterday. But over on FanDuel, top point guard player is going to be...
It's Pajemski for me, by the way.
Okay. Let me find this. Of course, I had none of my FanDuel stuff pulled up because we haven't talked a second about it here. It's Caleb Love's shooting guard only. So, yeah, he's by a mile there. Pajemski at point guard by a mile. Correct.
All right. There we go. You took your time just to agree with me. Shooting guard is Caleb Love at min price.
Yeah, Will Richard and Caleb Love together, like I have 100% of both because they're in one lineup.
Small forward. It's hard to not mention a lot of the Warriors guys here, but Moses Moody.
Denny Avdia.
Okay. Power forward. This is where things kind of open up, and there isn't like a predominant top power forward option the way that like there's can't miss. And by can't miss, I don't mean like impossible to fail, but I mean guys who points per dollar projections are guys that you just kind of have to be getting exposure to at the point guard, shooting guard, small forward position. This changes once you get to power forward. So I'm actually going to go with Scotty Barnes here as a pay up option.
Oh, look at you getting contrarian and shit. Trace Jackson Davis for me.
Okay. And then finally at center, that will be Nikola Jokic.
Yep, same.
Yeah, a little bit cheaper over on FanDuel, and there's also so much value at the other positions. And, you know, Trace Jackson Davis is definitely a good value proposition. Things you could play him at power forward or center. If he was center only, I think this would be a little bit more interesting of a conversation. But we just have all this value on FanDuel, and center is one of the only positions without value, which just kind of makes it an easy decision to go pay up for Jokic more often than not at the center position there. Let's see what we have next. Einsteinium. I like this question. Einsteinium wants to know, who is our favorite player to roster from Miami in the event that maybe we're, you know, building out a game stack, trying to run something back? Is there anybody that stands out to you from the Miami Heat for today, opposing all that value that we have on Golden State?
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that we can take shots on. Bam Adebayo, not really one of them. Khalil Ware, it obviously just ruins anything that we'd be looking at from his perspective as well. But what do you think about Norman Powell? Because I made him nuke of the night the other night, and it was really, really brutal to run out. I get a little bit worried about blowout. We've now reached double digits very, very quickly. There's nothing that's a priority. But if you told me somebody went out and put 50 at the position that I would need them in, at least Norman Powell is not like point guard or center. At least Norman Powell is one of those guys that we know gets there by raw scoring, where he could put up 40 real points. He put up 38 against the Knicks and put up 50 fantasy points that direction. I think purely because he's a small forward, or sorry, shooting guard, and not like some of these other positions where you have a ton of value. I think Norman Powell ends up being the guy just from a raw ceiling perspective. But I'm saying this knowing that I don't have more than 10% of anybody in a specific lineup in my first run, and I'm probably going to get less than that in my next run. Jaime Jaquez is 7,100 now. That's really a no thank you. Pell Larson's probably the guy that's pulling the most, but like, do you feel that great about it? Even with Jovic out? I don't. For me, it's going to be basically the raw ceiling of Powell or nothing.
So I've got a little bit of exposure to Jaime Jaquez. He's been excellent this year. Just because also Jovic is out. Simone Fontecchio, he's somebody who it's kind of hard to use him in the scenario that you've mentioned here, Einstein, in terms of you're trying to make a game stack, because I kind of view him as a low-owned pivot off of some of the Golden State Warriors value. But there's a scenario here where maybe the game's a blowout. Fontecchio could get blowout run, or just he already plays more minutes just because of the absence of Jovic tonight. So I'm going to go with Fontecchio here at 4% ownership.
Yeah, he had been playing pretty, like, I would say that very first game against Orlando, like, I don't know, a month ago, he played a lot more than I expected him to. Like, he's been pretty functionally in that rotation, 18 to 22 minutes. Just kind of depends. Is he knocking down a ton of shots? I think they closed with him like one game against the Spurs, but overall, like, he's probably the guy that when you take a piece like Jovic, who's been coming off the bench and playing, 26, 31 minutes in some spots as well, or can be floored out at 13, 15, like we saw the last two. I think if he absorbs some of those, like Fontecchio's floor for minutes probably goes up a little bit, but like his ceiling is all dependent on if he's knocking down shots or not. And that's really hard for me to just say, hey, I know Fontecchio is going to knock down everything tonight and play 26 minutes. Here you go.
Yeah, so a lot of people in chat bring this up because it is true. While we were talking about some of those questions, the Cavs starting lineup came out. Naquan Tomlin is starting at shooting guard for them today. So that's what they put in the cars in Fast and Furious to make them go faster. But that is your starting shooting guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers today. And we'll be getting a projection update in short order. What do we have for Tomlin before? Yeah, we had Tomlin projected for 14 minutes. And honestly, I'm going to pull this back up for a second. We have projected 0.95 fantasy points per minute, which is pretty decent fantasy production. It's going to go down with him being in the starting lineup and playing with higher usage guys. But I mean, small forward, power forward eligibility, $3,400. I don't think he's like a core player or anything like that. We'll see when the projections update, but he's definitely somebody who's getting added to the mix now.
Who?
Naquan Tomlin.
Yeah, where did he play basketball at, Greg?
Is this a trick question? I don't know.
Where did he play college basketball at?
How the hell would I know? I don't watch college basketball.
You should know.
If it wasn't Elon, I shouldn't know.
Oh, yeah. Elon, your boy, pitcher.
There's one professional athlete that went to Elon. It's George Kirby. Other than that, I couldn't tell you where almost anybody went to college.
He went to Memphis, but it's fine. I think he went somewhere else before it, but he was a Memphis guy. He was K-State and Memphis, I think. But anyway.
Okay. Why was that even a trivia question? I don't
know. I just thought it was fun to throw out there because he's a creative player.
Naquan Tomlin. All right. So I'm curious to see what our projections look like when they update. Oh, let's see. We have a projections update.
Oh, no.
Did this come before or after Tomlin was named the starter, though? Let's see.
I'm going to come.
Well, I mean, we're about to do the nuke of the night. So that's just kind of like standard practice. Let's see. So we've got Tomlin. I assume this is an update for him starting.
No. It's not. Greg, Rich just said it's not updated. This is going to be a disaster. This guy is going to project so well. Oh,
well, his rates are going to come down a little bit just because he's primarily served as like a bench player, like not even a normal bench player, a guy who comes in when the bench guys need some relief. So
why does this have to be the first game? This is so annoying. This is really bad, Greg.
Not what I thought we were going to talk about today was Naquan Tomlin.
Yeah. Wow. I'm not going to come. How about that?
By the way, also Mike Conley is going to be starting for the Timberwolves.
That's what I assumed. My Timberwolves have just started him no matter what position the other person's at. They just slide DiVincenzo and Anthony Edwards over. Yeah. It's like, all right, Rudy Gobert's out. Sweet. Let's start Mike Conley. Like, awesome. Great.
Yeah.
It's just
Mike
ridiculous.
Conley. He'll defend the paint for us today.
Oh my God. It's absurd. But anyway, yeah, I assume Mike Conley was starting just because that's what we've done for anybody who's been out all year long.
You know what's funny? Jeff Williams just left this as super chat. Best small forward player on DK that isn't a Warrior. Is it Naquan Tomlin now?
Naquan, let's go.
Is that who it is? Is it going to be Naquan? Because, okay, so the caveat to this is he said he can't be a Warriors player, and the small forward position sucks outside of some of the potential Warriors options. Like, it's such a weak position today. So you got Moses Moody as a potential option. You've got Buddy Hield. If you want to pay up, you could go to, like, Kevin Durant, but he doesn't project all that well. I don't feel like I think the answer is Naquan Tomlin now. It's a shitty position.
I got a joke. Is he related to Nate Tomlin? Because then all we can expect from him is 9 and 8.
Oh, by the way, I would be happy with not at his price point in the state of the small forward position. I'd be happy with 9 and 8 today.
9 and 8, baby. That's all you can expect from Naquan, the son of Mike Tomlin.
I wouldn't be upset with that. That's 19 fantasy points. Then maybe you get some peripheral stats in there too. At his price point, you get him to like mid-20s.
Some of those hustle stats, because that's what we do in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, some deflections that lead to steals.
That's my favorite joke I've ever made on this show, ever, in 5 years.
Eric only gets this proud of himself when he has a good nuke of the night play.
But I do that every night, except for Norman Powell now. No, that was bad. I'm sorry to everybody. I lost more money than you. It's okay.
So, yeah, I'll be interested to see when we get that projections update how Naquan Tomlin ends up coming out. Let's get to a couple more Discord questions, Eric, and then we'll run the nuke of the night, and then hopefully we will be able to see what we've got for a Tomlin projection. But a couple of questions here in Discord. One is from M. Grizzly, wants to know, are we manually lowering exposure to the 8 p.m. Eastern time games for tonight? I don't think it's going to be necessary for a couple of reasons. Number one is that it seems like we're going to have a lot of the news other than the Golden State Warriors starting lineup, but we're going to have enough exposure to the Warriors that I think we're going to be able to pretty easily manipulate and move things around. The other part of this too, I don't know about yourself, Eric, but I look at the games that are first few games on the slate: Charlotte, Indy, Toronto, Philly, Houston, Cleveland. these are not games that, at least as of right now, I'm getting a massive amount of exposure to anyway.
Nor am I. Again, Aaron Gordon could change that. Aaron Gordon could very much change that if he just wants to like take the night off. Wait, what did I just see from Underdog? Just read that. No way. Stop.
Jalen Tyson could play on Friday. Oh, so here we as if
oh
the
my God.
Tomlin timeline wasn't dumb enough. We got I don't even understand this. Okay, so Jalen Tyson, who was ruled out earlier in the day. Oh no, never mind. Eric, you gave me a heart attack for no reason. I didn't even finish. He could play Friday. He's out today.
Oh, okay. God. Yeah. Okay. I read the first thing. And I wanted to
because you said that, I didn't read the entirety of the thing. I just looked at the notifications on my phone. But yeah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for today.
Ben Shepherd starting over Jarris Walker. So start reading that off. I'll be useful going forward, I promise.
All right, let's see what we've got for other questions here as well. Win wants to know, could we rank the pay-up options for today? Sure. And he didn't specify his site, but I know Win usually is playing on FanDuel. So I assume this is a FanDuel question. So we'll go over to FanDuel. It's probably going to be hard for us to actually rank every single pay-up option for today, but we'll look at it this way. Of the guys who are, because he asked all the guys who are 9K and higher. Right? Like that'd be, if we actually ranked every guy who was 9K plus, that would be a little bit much. So how about this way? Who are your 3 priorities on FanDuel who are pay-up options?
I can tell you the 3 that I have in my one lineup, and I think they go almost in exact accordance to what we have for ownership. Denny Avdia, 9K, you're playing him. Tyrese Maxey, 10K, you're playing him. Nikola Jokic, 12-8, you're playing him. And you can play them all in the same lineup pretty easily with Golden State.
For me, I want to add to the mix. All right. So Jokic, you said Denny. So one guy I'm going to go with, Denny's tough because I do think I have a little bit of sticker shock on him, like 9K for Denny. That's a pretty steep price tag. I'm going to throw SGA in at 15% ownership on FanDuel as somebody who could be a good matchup against the Kings, but also you could pay up for it to be a little bit different. There's a ton of value on the slate. We know the ceiling SGA brings to the table, and he's somebody the field isn't really rostering on FanDuel.
Okay, Josh, I'm back on the show with Josh now. He plays SGA over the field every show we've been together on all season long. And you know what SGA does? Plays 0 fourth quarters. But you know what? Maybe this day can be different than the other days. That would be good.
All right, let's see what we have for another question here. One from Ryan Schindler. He just wants to know if Eric's golf game is going to go to shit when your kid is born. Eric, are you planning on sucking at golf in the near future?
No, I will be a god forever. Don't you dare come at me in the Arizona, Southern California region. I will own your soul like Shao Kahn. Get over here. A little bit of that from Scorpion too. It'll be beautiful.
Yeah. By the way, you are thinking of Shang Tsung is the
God
combat character who absorbs souls. You fucking nerd. Get that. If you're going to make a Mortal Kombat, there we go. Yeah. Turn the camera off. If you're going to make a Mortal Kombat reference, get the right characters, you goof.
And then I did the Scorpion perfect, but it's fine. I said it very confidently, so nobody would have noticed if you hadn't corrected me. It's fine.
I'm going to give you a chance to redeem yourself. Okay.
Okay. Nuke of the night.
All right, Eric, it is time for what I assume is the highlight of your day every single day, the nuke of the night. Yeah, it absolutely is. Eric,
no, it's not.
It is one. Nobody in chat is going to disagree with this. There is nothing Eric gets more excited about than the nuke of the night and victory lapping it when it crushes afterwards. So, Eric, who is your nuke of the night that's going to break the slate today?
I've made money playing DFS for how many years in a row now? Like 10? It's 11. It's okay. No, go ahead.
Make fun of me. Your nuke of the night place. You get very excited about it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Look, no matter what, no matter how, no matter what the game script or anything is, there's one guy who has to play basketball for Golden State tonight. And he's not pulling enough ownership. He's a flat 3K on DraftKings. He's center only. I brought him up as somebody who could potentially start. And I do think that they absolutely hate this guy, which is always kind of funny, but they are so shorthanded and they have nobody in the front court. And I just don't see a way around it. I'm going to be way over on Trace Jackson Davis today. He has a flat 3K on DraftKings, power forward, 3,600 on FanDuel. Both sites, I'm playing a ton of him, and he rebounds it decently well. This is a matchup that shouldn't really get him played off the floor no matter what. There's no like shooting 4s and 5s. Like, I feel pretty confident in Trace Jackson Davis and his fantasy production doing enough for us here. Trace Jackson Davis, your nuke of the night.
All right. So, I mean, I just look at the outlook of this slate and I'm trying to find out how I can most reasonably be different in a way that isn't, too insane. Right. And I like to do this on slates like this. We have a lot of value on the slate.
Mm-hmm.
We have a good amount of pay up options as well. But most of those pay up options, the ownership's kind of concentrated, right? Like Nikola Jokic, some ownership, nothing crazy. Maxi's 28% owned. Anthony Edwards is 28% owned. So I'm going to bring up the guy who I just mentioned before, SGA, who's in play on both DraftKings and FanDuel. He is 12% owned on DraftKings. He's 15% owned on FanDuel. I'm getting to myself around 20% of SGA right now, which is just not all that hard to do considering the amount of value on this slate. So I think if you want to differentiate your lineups, but do it in a way that isn't going to come at some massive opportunity cost, like fading the Warriors, that would be insane to me. But instead, it's how could I utilize the best value on the slate and still be a little bit different? And that's just for paying up for a guy with a lot of upside that the field isn't paying up as much for. And to me, that's SGA.
Yeah, I totally love that too. Again, you're trying to find one point of deviation that you can on some of these chalkier slates as well. Like, we don't know Golden State's starting lineup right now. We have assumptions on what it could be. There's a lot of different routes they could go. I think the Bajemski, Richard, Moody, Santos post route is the most prevalent, but like, I do think because you can play Bajemski and slide him over on FanDuel and play him at shooting guard, because on DraftKings, you can play 3 different guards. Like, there's a lot of ways where I think SGA and his ceiling, they just need one game to be remotely competitive. They haven't had anything competitive for like a month, it feels like. And I'm kind of with you where I think SGA is one of those guys that is going to kind of go by the wayside, and you're eventually going to get one game where it all comes together. Now, 11K on FanDuel, I can't really do that, but 10-6 on DraftKings, I'm definitely a big fan of like, hey, what if that works out? I'm going to get my maxi exposure on FanDuel. DraftKings, I like the SGA pivot a little bit.
By the way, we got our update here. Naquan Tomlin, we've got him in for 22 minutes, and that has him coming away with 20 fantasy points. Yeah, fantasy point per minute rate just slightly dipped with him being in the starting lineup, but $3,400, just over 20 fantasy points at a weak small forward position. He's going to show up in lineups. I don't know to what degree. I'm going to have to rerun the Sims for that because he's certainly not as good of a value play as the Warriors guys who exist on the slate. But I assume he's going to show up in a chunk of lineups at least at the small forward spot on DraftKings.
I agree. He'll show up a little bit for me, but not enough to like, I'm going to be at the field or below. There's no way I'm going to be overweight to a guy that like, I just remembered his name just now. Like there's just no way Naquan Tomlin is going to differentiate my lineups in a major way.
We'll see. I will know shortly when I run the Sims, do some updates and see what kind of exposure I end up getting to Naquan Tomlin, but definitely not somebody who I thought was going to be relevant at all to the slate, but he is obviously very wide range of outcomes with Tomlin. We have him projected for 22 minutes. If he sucks, he could play 16. If he plays really well, there's a scenario, by the way, Cooper Flag out for tonight. There's a scenario here where Tomlin plays well and gets close to 30 minutes. That's also a possibility. So wide range of outcomes here. Wouldn't go too crazy with exposure, but definitely decent upside here for a value piece. Cooper Flag out. That's not going to matter for the FanDuel, for the DraftKings slate. Does matter for the FanDuel slate though, Eric. You talked about a little bit the top. To me, my initial reaction, Najee Marshall looks pretty solid now. Yeah,
5K flat for him. 4,700 shores up the minutes for Max Christie as well. So he was a guy that I was already kind of like, hey, I could probably talk myself into a little bit more of him there. You don't have OG Anunoby, so a really good defender that goes by the wayside. Karl Anthony Towns going to be out on PJ Washington. So yeah, Max Christie's going to get Landry Shamet defense more than likely to start off. Miles McBride, this is one of those like Brandon Williams, I like a lot if Jalen Brunson starts. I really don't like him a lot if Miles McBride starts. Miles McBride is a very functional, athletic defender. You just look at him. He looks like Damon Stoudemire, but like steroided up. Like he looks like a Mighty Mouse. That's kind of that was the Damon Stoudemire tattoo back in the day. Miles McBride definitely can play some defense. Jalen Brunson cannot. I think I like the offensive efficiency of that game a little bit more with Jalen Brunson in. You kind of do some push and pull on dunks and threes, some other places where I like to go. Miles McBride, obviously I think that if Brunson sits, you're going to want to get to McBride as much as you can over on the FanDuel slate. But as it stands right now, I basically, I just ran it. I got a ton of Najee Marshall at 5K. I assume he ends up being the starter, but it'd be weird to me if there was something else that like benefited in a major way with Cooper Flagg, other than Daniel Gafford probably looks a little bit better. 28 minutes, rebound rate's going to go up a little bit with him off the floor as well. We've seen him 3% lower in offensive rebound rate year over year. So lots of ways where like maybe we see a better double-double percentage for him. And I don't just say that because I bet him.
All right, let's get to some more of your guys' super chats. And I'm just going to kick off a Sims run here because that way we could answer some of these questions. I'll have the lineups running in the back while we get to these questions. Actually, I saw this come up a couple of times in the super chats. We have Chris Churchill wanting to know, have you guys done tiers? And then also Ace of Spade asked, hey guys, DK tiers, best options, please. So I think a perfect time to do a DK tiers question is while I'm waiting for my lineups to update. Oh, sorry, what was that?
I built a tiers lineup while I was on the potty today.
Good for you. Good for you. Is that where you are optimal building lineups as well, taking a big massive shit?
Yeah, I was just like 33% to first. Okay, 5K to first in the NBA tiers zone. I can do that. So yeah, I built a tiers lineup because I knew we would get that damn question. So I appreciate you guys. Jokic in tier 1. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, easy decision. Jokic in tier 1. Tier 2, where somehow this always happens in tiers. There's always going to be a handful of players out. And that's what we have in tier 2. Steph Curry's out. I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell as my option here.
Donovan Mitchell for me too.
Tier 3. Let's see what we've got in tier 3. Tier 3, that's going to be Edwards for me.
Yep, Ant for me.
All right, tier 4, where we have Jimmy Butler and Domantas Sabonis out. I will go with Julius Randle.
It is going to be Randle.
Okay.
I like the correlation of Edwards and Randle too, just purely because if they play in semi-competitive basketball game, I like the two of them actually together. Whereas sometimes that's a prohibitive thing, is like playing the same guys from the same team there. So yeah, I like both of them.
Tier 5. What do you got in tier 5?
Russell Westbrook.
Ooh. All right. I am going to go with Norman Powell in tier 5. We haven't had many of these situations to talk about this year, but it's something you and I have brought up in the past. It's hard to quantify sometimes when an entire team is out and how easy the matchup could possibly be for the opposing players there. Obviously, a lot of blowout risk, but you did talk about Norman Powell a little bit when we were asked about a contrarian option for the Heat for game stacks, but I'll go with him there. And then finally, tier 6. Who do you like from tier 6, Eric?
Yeah, I like the Brandon Ingram piece. I know that he's the highest on that, but I feel like because I went to the bottom of tier 5 with Westbrook, he's the lowest in terms of fantasy point per game. I think we get a lot of people who hand build on that. So I like the Westbrook one along with the Chalky Ingram.
All right, I'm going to go with Brandon Ingram for myself in tier 6. The next super chat that we have here, it is from Joseph Pullum. Joseph wants to know, do we have any interest in Chet Holmgren tonight, Eric? Chet Holmgren, is he making his way into many of your lineups or any of your lineups?
No.
Let's see. What do I have of Chet? Just finished. Yeah, I've got 1% of Chet. So that's going to be a pass for me. That is a no for me on Chet Holmgren. He is in 1 out of 150 lineups for me heading into lock.
I have 0.
And let's see if there was another super chat here. Pierre wants to know thoughts on contrarian centers, Klingon and Gobert. If I'm going to be contrarian, I'd prefer it to be position, not center on FanDuel.
Yeah, Jokic is too cheap on FanDuel. He's sub 13K on FanDuel. It's easier to get there. You're not playing Klingon or Gobert. If you make me play one of the two, I mean, I kind of like both. Like you have no SAR for Washington. You get Marvin Bagley for Portland. You basically are looking at kind of like a depleted situation there. Just no Shaden Sharp, more scoring. But yeah, I would not do it at center. Jokic I have in that one lineup on FanDuel. And I can't imagine if I built 10 lineups that I wouldn't primarily just be jamming Jokic on this slate.
And the next question we have here is from Jeff Williams. He wants to know our favorite plays on DraftKings by position. Good timing because I just finished the Sims run that I had going here and kind of reviewing some of that information. So let's get to our favorite overall plays by position on DraftKings. At point guard for me, that is Podziemski, Eric.
Podziemski.
At shooting guard, that is Will Richard for me.
Richard.
Small forward just really sucks over on DraftKings. By the way, ran the Sims. I have 18% of Naquan Tomlin right now. I'm kind of considering boosting him a little bit just because of how much I hate the other options I have at small forward. But Moses Moody.
Buddy Hield.
And I don't feel good about Moody in his price point at all.
I don't either. And that's why I'm playing Buddy Hield because he's Moses Moody at a cheaper price point. That's literally why I did it. I just said that to myself a minute ago. That's funny.
Power forward, that is Julius Randle for me.
Naz Reid.
And then finally at center, I'm going to go with Nikola Jokic. All right, let's get into your guys' Discord questions. Oh, never mind. A couple more super chats came in. Rick Durkin, thoughts on Barlow as a low-owned option? Too much. Number one, he's relatively priced up for his purposes at $4,800. But no, I'd just rather go to other value spots. That Barlow's a no for me.
Yeah, it's going to be a no for me, dog.
And then Daniel DeBuff wants to know from us, favorite small forward and power forward besides Moody and Nas. So I did have Randall already that said at power forward. As another one, I'm going to say Gui Santos, just because there's so many guys out for the Warriors. There's an opportunity for him. And then small forward, if it has to be somebody who isn't one of the Warriors guys, I guess I'll just say Tomlin because he's super cheap. Small forward is like really trash today.
Yeah, you brought up your guys from Toronto and you didn't decide to say them here. Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram. I like both of them just simply as like guys that you're filling in at the position and then building value around them, mainly because Toronto, they're a huge headache. You never know who's going to spike on any given night, but I like the idea of like having one individually in a number of different lineups.
And let's get to some of your guys' Discord questions. How are you doing on your lineups, by the way, Eric?
I'm just about done. And I mean, I'm cruising today. I feel pretty good about it. The one guy that I wanted to ask you about, Philly. Nobody's talked about Philly whatsoever. How many minutes do we have VJ Edgecombe for today? Because he keeps showing up for me in every Sims run. And he's 6K flat. Shooting guard is the one position. Like you look at the Golden State guys. We're all going to play Richard, but like you can definitely move pieces around there. Podziemski, 6K, we've talked about a number of times. Toronto, we have interest in like spend up pieces, but like, is there anything on the Philly side that you like whatsoever outside of Maxey?
Looking through my lineups. Do I have
just
such
a
Philly
weird lineup
to
me.
Drummond.
Like
Drummond,
okay.
I think is a good play.
Yeah, like Justin Edwards starting is such an interesting one because it's like Maxey and Drummond both look good and they're going to show up at their respective positions. But like, I kind of like the idea of the guy who's going to play 38 minutes too in VJ Edgecombe in a projected close environment. It's a 2.5 point spread on the Toronto side. You get Edwards starting alongside Barlow in this one. They have Grimes coming off the bench, who's still playing quite a bit, but like with Watford coming off the bench now as well, I don't know. I feel like Edgecombe's going to eat up a little bit more usage in this. And I kind of like the idea of him being somebody that you boost a little bit.
Let me see. Do I have
any? He's in my top.
I've got 9% of Edgecombe. Okay. But I don't have strong feelings towards him as an option.
I don't either, but he keeps showing up. I just got him in 16% of my last Sims run. And I feel like we haven't talked about Philly at all outside of Maxey, where, you know, he's somebody that you could always justify as a spend up, 10K flat on DK, 10K flat on FanDuel. Like that's really good stuff overall, but wanted to at least bring him up because he was a guy that I'm just surprised to see in as many lineups. Like I have just as much of him as what I have of Grimes, as much as I have of Mitchell as much as I have. Like, he just seems to show up in that 15% number. And like Pat Spencer, I love. Will Richard, I think everybody loves. And Buddy Hield, I've talked about as contrarian, but I feel like Edgecombe might end up with like really low ownership, and he's going to play a ton of minutes. And I think it's a better starting lineup for him than we've had previously, especially like Watford, who does a little bit of everything. He had that random triple double, does a little bit in the box scores. Like, I kind of like the idea of boosting him a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. I am not going to be like, I've got some of him, but I don't want to be like massively exposed to VJ Edgecombe, who I think is probably a little bit overrated now just because he had so many good games to start the season. And then he's kind of come back to earth and play. It's still very good, but like to me, pretty solidly the third best rookie so far this season in the rookie class. Whereas I think Cooper Flagg and Knuppel both have been better than him.
Totally. And I guess the other part too is like Drummond wasn't starting at the beginning with the Joel Embiid out stuff. So like Drummond is a good fantasy producer who eats up rebounds, points, all the things. And we're looking at Edgecombe being a guy that, you know, now has to contend with that more rather than like 24 minutes of Bona and 20 minutes of Drummond. You're getting like mid 30s minutes of Drummond.
All right, let's go quickly. As many of these questions as we can. First, shout out to Jason, who left us a super chat, said, just saying thanks for everything you do. Jason, thank you. And if you guys really want to know the best way to appreciate the work we do, just like the video, subscribe to the channel. Told you guys at the top how you get sign up for the link join. If you want to sign up for any of the packages we have here at Stokastic, the link to sign up, it is down below. Or you could simply sign up for any of our affiliate partners that went over earlier. And for each one you sign up for, 1 free month. So that's a really simple way to support us, but also just like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out our content on Tails, download the Tails app, leave us a nice review. So lots of different ways that you guys could support our content without even spending $1, and it's all appreciated very much. Jeff Williams wants to know Knuppel or Mathurin for today. Mathurin.
I have more Mathurin, but I don't really like either.
Yeah. Well, actually, if salary doesn't matter, Knuppel, I have more of Mathurin, except it's partially because he's a lot cheaper. If salary doesn't matter for you, then Knuppel's the guy.
Yep. Great.
Jason, is Şengün too thin now for a DK 1,000-man field? No, I've got Şengün in 20% of lineups. He's not like a core option for me or anything, but he's in lineups. I'm cool with that.
He's a daddy.
All right. Brandon Games wants to know, what are your guys' thoughts on Bagley with Sarr out? Any interest? Yeah, I mean, I'm not like wildly different in the field, but close to min price, extended minutes for him. It's hard to not have him at least in some lineups.
You have him 30% of lineups, and I hate it, but here we are.
And let's get into Discord. Just a few minutes left to go, so we're going to answer as many of these questions as quickly as we can. We've got
Emmanuel quickly. Go.
Psycho, should we be worried about the Nuggets blowing out the Pelicans and Jokic getting less run? It's always a concern, but not to the point where like you should just outright fade Jokic because of that. But yeah, it's a valid concern, but not anything that's going to make me avoid him or anything like that. Alucard, curious on my thoughts on how to build a single bullet for the main 100K contest, where I prioritize the chalk plays with the low owned plays that would be needed to win. I kind of let the Sims handle a lot of that for me. If I was just building one lineup, what I would do is I would run the Sims and I would just hand build that lineup around the players that show up in the most lineups and maybe pick like 1 or 2 guys who are lower owned, you're well overweight to the field to. And I think that's a good way that you could go about building that lineup. But in general, I just trust the Sims with something like that. JT Mack wants to know a favorite high-owned and low-owned play for today. All right, Eric, who is your favorite chalk play and who's your favorite contrarian play today?
Trace Jackson Davis, obviously. I mean, I brought him up as a new. Pat Spencer is pretty low owned for the most part, like relative to what I thought he would be. High owned Will Richard, I like a lot. I mean, I watched that whole Sacramento game. He's just so impressive. Trace Jackson Davis, my favorite sub 20% piece.
SGA on the low end for me, and then Will Richard as far as a chalky play. We've got here a 2v2 from Bando, Randall and McCollum or Murray and Reed. That for me is going to be Murray and Reed.
Yeah, Murray and Reed for me.
Elder, sorry if you answered it, but if I had to drop one Golden State Warrior guy, who would it be? So Eric, if you were going to not play one of the popular Golden State Warriors guys, who would it be for you? I mean, all of them are pretty, like, I don't want to get away from the Warriors guys entirely. Like, everybody has pretty good opportunity.
Moses Moody, just price point. Moses Moody.
The problem is the small forward position is so shitty. It might not even take as much of a ceiling game from him as some of the other guys. I don't really think you should be trying to avoid the Warriors. Tom Chambers wants to know Tomlin and Randall or Santos and Barnes. Tomlin and Randall for me.
Yep, same.
I really wouldn't want to play Tomlin all that much if it wasn't for the other options. It's like Moses Moody at $5,600. The pay up guys are like Durant at $8,500 or Hawkes at $71. Yeah, small forward, weak position there. If you guys haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you are looking for late slate content, I am going to be posting a video on my Twitter. I'm going to do for DraftKings and FanDuel a breakdown for the late slate for today. So I'll see if that's something that gets traction, if it's something you guys gravitate towards. Eric, for yourself, any final thoughts on the slate?
Yeah, pay attention to Aaron Gordon. One that could potentially have like one random piece that shows up that's really, really low owned. I don't know who that piece is going to be potentially, but Peyton Watson's going to look a lot better if you have Aaron Gordon now. No matter what.
Keone left us a super chat here right at the end of the show. Nas or Moody with 3 Warriors. That's going to be Nas Reed for me over Moses Moody.
Nas as well, especially with the blowout. Wouldn't want any other Timberwolves in that lineup.
And that is going to do it for us. Guys, thank you all very much for watching. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Head on over to Tails. Either Tails.bet or download the Tails app. Follow me. Follow Eric. Follow Lofty. Follow Ben. Follow DKDFS. Follow Josh. The whole list. Follow everybody. And if you're really enjoying your experience over on Tails, here's something you can do. Just take 30 seconds out of your day. Leave us a 5-star rating. Maybe we'll write a couple of nice sentences as far as the review goes. That is going to really help us grow and expand that app. So if you like our content, you want to keep it free, you want to know how you could support it, there's an easy way that'll cost you $0 and only is going to take a couple minutes of your time. So guys, if we can do that, we really appreciate it. Other than that, have a great night. See you back here tomorrow. Peace.